Happy Monday. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, joined by a bunch of testosterone here at the table today. Stu, what's the top story for you?
I thought you said there was testosterone.
That's a fair point. There are 411 people, I think, now running for president in the Democratic Party. We do this thing called power rankings, where we've got a nice little formula that figures out who is the least likely to win the nomination, who's the most likely. We're going to count down all 411. This is going to be our special 6-hour episode of The News and Why It Matters.
I didn't sign up for that.
You'll love it. It's going to be great.
I don't have that time.
It's going to be fantastic.
All right, Andrew.
Something is warping democracy, and I'm going to reveal it and come up with a cure.
Wow.
All right,
Wow,
what a
that is
tease.
nice. No kidding.
Jeffy.
I'm going to talk about something I am all too familiar with working at this network, being falsely accused.
I know.
I
It's
can't
a
wait
lot
to
of
hear.
evidence, but whatever.
Yeah, thank you. A lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Riduzone. So summer is coming up, and usually that's when we, do things like go to beaches half clothed and go to the pools. Jeffy, Jeffy doesn't wear any clothes when he goes to the
No,
beach, but I'm talking about the rest of us.
I wear a seersucker suit because I went to college.
And you're proving that point in the sand.
But if you're someone who is trying to get some extra weight off, look good for summer, and you just can't figure out how to do it, try Riduzone. It is the good molecule in olive oil that helps boost your metabolism, reduce your appetite. I use it. It works beautifully for me. I would know also, let me just point out, because being the, as Glenn once dubbed me, the former fat chick here at the Blaze.
Nice of him.
I know, but it really stuck. It felt good.
Sorry about that.
So that was me. I know how hard it is to lose weight, maintain the weight loss. I know what works and what doesn't. I'm telling you, Riduzone works. Go to riduzone.com, enter promo code THEBLAZE. You can get 30% off of a 3-month supply right now. That'll get you into summer, and you can feel good, and you can look good on the beach or by the pool or wherever with Riduzone at riduzone.com. Stu, power rankings.
Yes, so...
Can we just, do we have to do all 400?
Yeah, definitely. We got to give these people their due. They're running for president. They could be leading the free world at any time. So we've got 20 candidates in the race now. We do this, just to give you a quick outline before we get into this, we have a formula that we've kind of worked on for the past few months. It takes about 30 or 31 categories, stuff like polling and fundraising and organizational stuff and all sorts of different measures of how the campaign is doing, how many fundraisers, how many endorsements, all the stuff that could, kind of formulates who could be winning this nomination. And then we plug it into our little system. It spits out a score 0 to 100, and then we bring it to you. So 20 candidates. We start with number 20 is Wayne Messam. Now, you might not know who Wayne Messam is. He's the mayor of Miramar, Florida.
Obviously, we all knew that.
Well,
Miramar proper or one of the surrounding satellite cities?
I wouldn't want to commit to Miramar proper.
Right.
It's not Miramar Metro. It's just Miramar.
He's got a score of 13.4 on a scale of 1 to 100. He does not look like he's going to be your next president, but he is running. And there's all these kind of crazy candidates. There's a bunch of them out there. These are like actual people who are holding office that we've included in here, or someone serious of campaign. Number 19 is Marianne Williamson. Now, she is kind of a guru of
He has no idea who she is.
New Age guru, I would say.
Is that a real picture of her, or
No,
is
that
that just
is
like
not.
a drawing?
If so, it's terrifying.
What's that meme that's going around on the internet with like the scary girl who's like freaking everybody? Momo or whatever?
Yes.
That's
Oh,
she's,
yeah.
she's related to Momo. I think the mother of Momo in this picture. We do have to work on this. They put the cartoons in there because I guess they had rights to them. I'm like, they're kind of weird. So, but whatever. I don't really know what this is. Anyway, so she's at 17.1. She wants to give at least $100 billion for reparations. So in case, if you think, she said anything less than $100 billion is an insult, which is great. This is great. She's very good at spending your money, so you might like her.
She also happened to find my email. I'm getting emails
Really?
from this lady.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not
Not your
surprised.
target.
No, actually, you are because you have a little bit. Sarah's got a little bit of this new age thing going on.
Oh, I do.
And that is who she is. She's actually was Oprah's and a lot of famous people, the Kardashians, and she's kind of like their new age guru. And she's run for office one other time.
I'm into that.
And it's interesting because her entire chance here, if she had one, was to be like Kim Kardashian, like shilling her like she's the new Fire Festival. Like you need to be at that level. They tried it last time she ran for Congress and she still finished 4th. So I don't know how she's going to get to the presidency. But like, if Oprah were to come out and say, you know what, my new age guru is running for president, like that could change her in an instant, change her fortunes here, and she may be competitive. So Sarah's on board. We know who Sarah wants. Number 18, let's see, John Delaney. Now, John Delaney is actually, yes, that is a real picture. He's running for president as well. He's been running since I think July 2017 is when he announced. So a long time. Wow. He's had quite the runway here.
So based on seniority, he's winning.
He is. Thank you.
Okay.
That's one way to look at the race.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was so potent.
He also finished 5th in fundraising, which is pretty impressive. Except that 97% of the money came from his own bank account. So that is a little bit.
This tells me that John Delaney's committed to the John Delaney cause.
John Delaney has one major supporter, and his name is John Delaney.
So is he going to be the Lincoln Chafee of 2020?
Well, I haven't heard his metric position yet.
Okay, all right.
But he actually, I would say Delaney, if a Democrat had to be elected, he might be one we would actually be more friendly to. I know our friend Andrew Heaton here loves to talk up John Hickenlooper, but I think you should look at Delaney as a possible. Okay. He's a guy who's actually against Medicare for all. He's spoken about the benefits of capitalism. Again, he's way too liberal.
So he's like a math Democrat.
Yeah.
I like them math Democrats. I wish there were more of them.
Yeah, there's not too many these days. And this is why Delaney is in 18th place, and he's been running forever. So this is the problem. 17, Eric Swalwell. Running a big anti-gun campaign. He's on CNN and MSNBC all the time saying whatever outlandish left-wing thing he can say to get into a media cycle. This is really just a play about his profile. This is a profile.
This is a future book sale?
Yeah, exactly. And he wants to be on. He wants to be a guest on Rachel Maddow every other day. So that's what he's trying to do. He's got a score of 20.2 out of a 100. 16th is Seth Moulton. You're kind of in the same category here. Seth was a veteran, so he's done more with his life than I will ever do with mine. However, he has very little chance to win. He's actually telling this anecdote on the campaign tour where he's like, look, I just want everyone, I was getting questions from the audience, and I said, look, I'll take any tough question. I'm a guy who will take tough questions. That's part of my job. I mean, anything really, and just silence from the crowd. And then finally someone spoke up in the back and said, who are you? That is an anecdote. I'm not making it up about him. It's one he's telling on the campaign trail right now.
I think that beats who was it, Gillibrand, who was like, I'm just trying to get some ranch.
Yes. That's right, the ranch lady. I forgot about that one. That was great.
Was he doing a timeshare on stage with other candidates?
Yes, he was. He had some multi-level marketing opportunities.
Why do you go to an event and not know?
Well, I don't know. Glenn asked that same question, and I think the answer to it is when you're in New Hampshire or Iowa this time of year, every time you go out to breakfast, there's another candidate there. Right. You can't avoid these people if you're in these certain areas where people go. So I think that's kind of what happens a lot of times.
Awful.
Yeah, it would be. Because I don't want to see them when I want to. I'm interested in voting. Imagine it's a Republican. You're voting for Trump or something, and you're just sitting in there Seth Moulton's up there running his mouth about whatever. I want to eat my eggs. That's it. Okay, Tim Ryan is another one of these congressmen, 15th place. He's got a score of 21.6. He's kind of trying to run as a moderate again, and you see that we're hitting all these supposed moderates down here at the bottom. It's because the Democrats don't want them. They are not interested at all in what they're pitching at this point. 14 is Tulsi Gabbard. I feel like still there's a case a little bit for Tulsi Gabbard, maybe as a VP candidate. Yeah. She actually kind of interviews as a foreign policy wonk, and she's very non-interventionist, I would say.
But I like her foreign policy. Yeah. I hope she does well in the primaries because I'd like her to get that anti-interventionist message out there and make that part of the election.
Yeah, and she's actually a relatively serious candidate. She's had a weird past, and she's kind of an interesting person, to say the least. You kind of think that, she's telegenic. You'd think maybe she's going to make a little bit of noise. So far, it hasn't happened. I feel like she's going to get one of those little bumps at some point and maybe get into the high single digits for a little bit. If she has too much baggage, I think, for a VP, which is kind of one of her problems. I think she's a little bit. She has a decent amount of viewpoints that are out of the mainstream for the Democrats as well as Republicans. So it's a little weird fit for a VP. But kind of an interesting candidate, I think. Andrew Yang is also in that same category. Again, Yang, if you watched his Ben Shapiro interview, you'll get two things. One, you'll say, wow, this guy actually showed up to an interview with Ben Shapiro, and Shapiro's asking him deep policy questions, and he knows the answers to them. I don't like his answers on a lot of the stuff, but it's at least impressive that he showed up. Yeah. But the other part is, in that interview, it shows his weakness as a Democratic candidate in that, there's no chance that people are going to accept these policies. They're way too sane at times. This is not what the Democrats want right now out of a primary guy, especially someone they don't know. I mean, Joe Biden could come up with some of these policies and maybe they go along with it. But Andrew Yang, you're getting over a big hump his main thing has been this universal basic income. But when you look at the details of it, it's not the fever dream of the left. It is a version where, it's more like the libertarian kind of version of it, which I still don't prefer. It's not my favorite thing that the libertarians have ever proposed.
But compared to a big labyrinthine, 9 different federal agencies,
it's getting rid of all these agencies. Can you imagine the Democratic primary audience being like, you know what? Yeah, we'll absolutely get rid of 12 agencies for $1,000 a month to everyone. Like, it's just not happening. There's no way that's going to catch on. But, of course, I've said that before.
But he is very clever, though, about he's probably going to get into the debates. Like,
he is in. He's in already.
I respect that.
Looking at all of those different rules and regulations and things, and he might get far in the process, I think.
And I would say likable, too. I really liked him after the interview, even though I wouldn't agree with him on much. Jay Inslee is the governor of, I believe we're only at 12. I'm going to go faster. Jay Inslee, 30.4, governor of Washington, running a one-issue climate change campaign, basically. That he's like Lindsey Graham in 2016, right? He was doing it on foreign policy. Inslee's just saying, hey, climate. He blamed Donald Trump for the floods in Iowa last week. Like, this is what he's doing. So, again, I don't expect much. John Hickenlooper, I could give the player card over to Andrew Heaton, who's a huge Hickenlooper guy.
I'm on a spectrum of like Cato to Brookings, so I kind of like the stodgy, moderate technocrat guys. And he strikes me as being a pro-business Democrat who's like, he's willing to go into these various things, but he's not getting into the kind of screechy progressive extremities. So I like him.
Yeah, he's
a brewer
in this field.
Beer.
There you go. In this field or in the Soviet Union, he would be a moderate. I don't know outside of those two things where he'd be a moderate, but he is, certainly the left, I think, of every Republican candidate for the most part. But, he's to the right of the field here, which is interesting because, again, another moderate. I'm sticking down here at 11, 12, 13. These people are all down at the bottom
so is he
for
the
a
top
reason.
moderate at this point?
Biden.
It
depends what you think of Biden. 10, Julian Castro. It just doesn't seem to be happening for Castro.
No, it doesn't.
He does have a little bit of sort of establishment support, so maybe something can catch on, but it's not happening so far. Same thing with Gillibrand at number 9. She's got a score of 38.1. It's just not working. There are polls where she's not even showing up. She's a sitting U.S. senator from the same state the last presidential candidate came from. She's in the news all the time, but people hate the fact, I mean this seriously, was really hurting her campaign, is people hate the fact that she called for Al Franken to resign. Activists within the party are pissed off that she applied the Me Too standards to their person. And they're saying, you shouldn't have done that, you shouldn't have called for that, he could have made it through.
They're still hot over that.
And they're pissed over that. And again, take a step back. If this Me Too thing is real, which with a lot of these Democrats, it isn't. Some it is. But if it's real, this is a woman who told her truth with photographic evidence about a powerful man taking advantage of her in a time of vulnerability. And the Democrats themselves, the activists, are rejecting the woman who called her out on it. It's really unfair to Gillibrand from that, if you look at it from that perspective. But it is just, she's not catching on. 8, Klobuchar. Again, Klobuchar, I would say, you could say, is in the moderate wing as well.
She's not a blue dog, is she?
She's in that borderline. We talked to Mike Lee. You had him on as well, I know. We talked to Mike Lee, the whole field, who would respect the Constitution the most out of the Democrats, and he cited Klobuchar.
Okay.
You kind of look at her as, he likes working with her. She's taken a couple of moderate stances, and she has a great electoral history. She's blown away the competition in Minnesota, in a state that Trump almost won. Number 7, Elizabeth Warren, 45.3 out of 100. Again, she's pandering about trying to show how Game of Thrones proves we need powerful women. She is cringeworthy at every step. It's unbelievable how good she is at it. Every time she does something, she just makes me cringe. Number 6 is Cory Booker, 54.9. A lot of people are trying to sell Booker as the positive candidate out of the Democrats. I don't know that I've seen all that much about that, but they're saying it's not working and the Democrats don't want it. Whatever Cory Booker is doing is not working and the Democrats
shoving people out of the way to get on camera.
Yes, thank you.
The most dangerous place in America between a camera and Cory Booker.
Number 5, Robert Francis O'Rourke. He's at a 60. One of his strengths, he's still mid-range in the polling, even though he's had this big fall off. He's still very good as far as fundraising. So he has some benefits there, but it really feels like the shine is gone out of Beto, except for her sweating. That's still there. But generally speaking, the shine is gone off the candidacy, and he's going to have to, if he's spending this time being frugal and trying to figure out what he believes in life, maybe that's a good thing because he doesn't seem to have a lot of policies. But something's going to have to happen for him to reignite this thing because it really does seem like it's fallen off. Largely gone to our number 4, who is at 62.9 out of 100, Pete Buttigieg. who is shockingly, I mean, I never would have guessed that this guy would have been able to get to the top 4 at any point in this campaign.
He's beating Beto right now.
He is beating Beto. He is beating almost everybody, really, except the very top tier. He's showing up very well in polling. He's polling well in Iowa. He's polling well nationally. His fundraising is shockingly good. This is a guy from the mayor of South Bend, raised $7 million. I mean, Beto only did 9, and everyone knows him for his fundraising. Again, the background behind Buttigieg, Obama was talking about him very early. A lot of people who are in his camp are seeing him as the future of the party, a big step. He is the opposite of Trump when it comes to performance and presentation. And they think they can make something out of this guy. Plus, there's just not a long paper trail. There's just not a lot to criticize him. As you've seen so far, Democrats haven't really said anything bad about him yet. That is going to change, but it hasn't so far. Number 3 is Kamala Harris. She was our number 1 last week. She's at 68.6 out of 100. Is Kamala Harris fading fast, or is she just planning this smart? She's got a lot of fundraising, twice as many big donors as from the Clinton and Obama campaigns as any other candidate, twice as many. It's a big number. She seems to be the one they're coalescing around, but she's still moderate in polls and has not shown a lot of strength. Number 2, Bernie Sanders. He was our number 2 last week as well, 69.2. One thing about Bernie Sanders is the fundraising, and he doesn't have to drop out of these races because he's got so many. He's at 600,000 individual donors, which is about 4 or 5 times as many as any other candidate. So he's got money to burn. He's going to perform well in Iowa. He's going to at least take this to Super Tuesday, and this is a guy who's shown he does not want to drop out of this race at any reason. And of course, number 1, first a debut on the polls at 78.8. That's 9 points ahead of anybody else. So he actually turned out really well in this model. Is Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Yes, that's his middle name, Robinette. I've never heard anyone else with it.
Dropped 1 point with me. Robinette's his middle name.
Robinette. Right.
At least he doesn't have 4 names.
Yeah. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. So kind of a 4th name.
Yeah.
His polling still leads everybody, and you look at his fundraising was bigger than anybody else on day 1, which some people are surprised about. You think the energy of a Sanders or a Beto may have been that. Sanders was number 1 in total fundraising. Biden probably will beat him this quarter relatively handily. He's in a good position. Can Joe Biden screw it up? Absolutely. But he starts off with a nice big lead.
Joe Biden's family crest should be a man in a necktie stepping on a rake. So his capacity to screw this up, I think, is very high.
He's not good at running for president.
No, he's
not good at that. Yes, he's done it 8 times or 12 times or 15 times, and he's won 0 times.
Just amazing.
All right, back in a minute. Interesting to me, 4 out of the 5 top candidates are white guys. Not sure if you guys know this, but you can actually own your home and put in a bunch of equity into it, and then someone can show up at your door and be like, hey, we just bought your house, and you're
Why didn't you get your furniture out of here? I don't understand.
Yeah, and it's all because of a home title fraud. The FBI actually said that it's one of the fastest growing crimes in the United States, and I didn't even hear about it. I had no idea that this was something that could take place until we started talking with Home Title Lock.
Yeah, it's like one of those situations like identity theft was several years ago, where you heard about it, you're like, who's going to take my stupid identity? I don't even know my own identity. But reality is, I shouldn't have said that out loud, I guess. But
we know it.
Yeah, okay. But with home title fraud, it's the same thing. Like, it's kind of bubbling under right now. People don't know about it, but it's exploding when it comes to numbers. And I know they called it an epidemic in New York right now. So it's one of those things that if you can get out in front of it, you protect yourself now, you're never going to have to worry about it. Home Title Lock is right there at the gates of where these titles are held, so you just have to sign up with Home Title Lock and get rid of the worry.
You don't want to be the horror story. I mean, you hear the horror stories and you think, oh, that can't be me. And then it is.
Right. This is something that, insurance companies don't protect against it. Identity theft programs don't protect against it. Home Title Lock is the place to go. You can go to HometitleLock.com, get a $100 search for free when you sign up, so you can find out if you've already been a victim. Again, you wouldn't know it unless you go to Home Title Lock. Go there now, get that $100 search for free. Andrew, you said that you have the solution to all of our world's problems. I can't wait.
Not to all of them, but to some of them. To some of them, because there's something that's warping democracy right now, and I think it's worth investigating and thinking at. And that's, by the way, Twitter is what I'm going to be talking about. So, as a preface to this, we're often told that there's 2 types of people in politics. There's conservatives and there's progressives. It's not true. The two types of people are people that type in all caps on Twitter and all of us putting up with you. Those are the two types of people in American politics. I am firmly on the lowercase side of this. And if we backed up really far back, say like if we went back to like the Greek city-states, volume was important. Like in Sparta, they made decisions by just people would bang shields and scream, and whatever was loudest was considered the best thing. And I think that's probably a really good solution if you've got 300 naked Greek people to try and figure out how to run a country. When we've got, what are we up to? We're up to like 330 million in America or something like that. It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Twitter's really good at augmenting volume from super ideological people, but it's not emblematic of the actual people voting in the United States and the actual opinions of people in the United States. Now, I'm an opinionated person. I'm an ideologue. I think like everyone in our circle that's in media or politics probably has very clearly delineated ideas of what we want and what we don't want. We're actually kind of a rarity in that regard. Most of the American public doesn't really think like that. Most of the American public's a little bit more squishy, doesn't have these firm constellations there. But more to the point, even if you're looking at Twitter as just the more active people, it's not indicative of, say, what like a congressman's district looks like. Because if you're a congressman and you're looking at just your Twitter feed, you're seeing mostly angry people and people that are very, very, very firmly opinionated. You're not necessarily seeing like the pancake breakfast or things like that. With Democrats specifically, Twitter tends to be more liberal, more educated, wealthier, and whiter in terms of the Democrats or the progressives that are commenting. So when you're on Twitter and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so progressive, it's not actually indicative of the whole broad spectrum of people that are part of the progressive movement. When it comes to conservatives, it tends to be people that are urban and are more ideologically bent. So my point is, if you're in politics and you're looking at Twitter, this is a poor way to try and ascertain what your constituents are actually thinking about. Because what you're doing is you're seeing the angry people and you're seeing the loud people. I would rather congressmen go hang out at the local pancake breakfast, the Elks Lodge, whatever, and talk to people. From our vantage point, as American citizens, what I would suggest, what I'm doing this year, what I recommend that you do too, is every time you do a political tweet, pledge $1 to some charity. I'm going to do that at the end of the year. I'm going to count how many political tweets I've done, and then I'm going to donate money. We all did that. We'd fix America.
I don't make enough money for that. I make too many political tweets. I would be broke. I'm sorry, I can't.
I've implemented the once I tweet, I immediately sign out and close the app. I don't even have the app on my phone anymore. But like,
so you've light the match, run away.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. Like, I'm no offense if you're tweeting to me. I just don't really read them because I'm like, it's not real life. Get to your point, I think, Andrew. 2.2% of American adults are responsible for 80% of tweets.
Wow.
I mean, that's how crazy it is. 2.2%. This is a bunch of people who really like Twitter. And like, look, Twitter has some cool things about it. There's parts of it that I really like. But I mean, the issue here, I think, almost more than the actual use of Twitter is the way the media uses it as a proxy for journalism. I mean, like, instead of getting a comment from someone, they just say, oh, they tweeted this, therefore that's the comment I'm going to put in the story, and then it gets magnified to the entire country. Twitter is used as essentially the heartbeat of America when it really isn't.
Well, I mean, we've thought about this with email for years, right? I mean, with the activists find something that they're against, and then they have 10 people email thousands of emails to a company, and the company feels like all these people care about it, so they have to act. That's Twitter now, right? A bunch of people tweet at something, and now the companies feel like they have to act because they've got all these people. No, it's really not all these people that use your product that are complaining. It's only this little group over here.
I also would add, you said 2.2% of people are responsible for 80% of the tweets. I feel like if you looked into that and you saw probably Donald Trump would be responsible for like 60% of those tweets. And then the rest of us are only responsible for 20.
So it's not as bad, you're saying, okay.
All right, back in a minute.
He'd be 60% of the ones that are covered.
Yeah, so he probably starts the vast majority.
Stu, you said that there's a big socialism episode coming up.
There is. It's Wednesday night, May Day. You know, Netflix has a documentary coming out about AOC on May 1st, which is an odd Wednesday release. I wonder why they did it. I can't even think of a reason why you do that. It's strange. But you know what? That's what the rest of the world wants you to see. They want to see this flowery presentation of socialism. This is going to push back on this. Not only is it going to tell you the real results of socialism, but a plan of one particular country in Europe that switched in just a few years through the rules. It wasn't to take over, wasn't violent, it was just going through the rules. What was that blueprint like, and is it being applied here today? It's Spoiler alert, yes. So see how that works. It's really fascinating. It's Wednesday night.
I gotta tell you, if AOC is your flowery presentation of socialism, I think you're pretty much screwed at that point. That woman is dumb.
Oh, you're right.